Hi everyone, and welcome to another video by Sewing with Burda. Today we are going to show you how to sew the perfect beach rucksack. In this project we will show you the best way to affix eyelets and adjust buckles as well as bag rings. We will be using a water-repellent cotton fabric and a printed cotton fabric for the lining. You will also need interlining for ironing on, an appropriate color of sewing thread, a back strap, cord and your usual sewing tools. The VARIO Creative Tool and all the 4 editions are from Prym. First, cut out the stenciled pieces from the lining and outer materials according to the instructions. The top edge of the lining should also have approximately 50 cm of ironing interlining attached. All measurements already include a 1 cm margin for sewing on. So we can already get started with the sewing. Fold the square piece of outer material in half, right sides together, and pin the narrow side together. Stitch the center back seam and secure the start and end of the seam with back stitches. Then iron the sewing margins apart. Cut 2 approximately 6 cm strips of the strap and fold them in half, left sides together, to form loops. Mark the positions for the loops on the bottom edge of the bag about 9 cm away from the center back seam. Pin each of the strap loops to the bottom edge of the bag next to the markings. Tag the loops firmly to the margins with large stitches. Now mark the middle of the front opposite the seam with a straight pin. Then lay the middle on top of the middle and mark the sides as well. Fold the circular base in half too and mark the centers. Lay the middle on top of the middle and mark the sides of the circular base as well. Now you can pin the base in place all the way around. The quarter markings should all line up. Place the strap loops between the 2 pieces of fabric. Stitch the base into place all the way around. Lay the sewing margin on top and stitch the seam inwards close to the edge. Now you can turn the bag the other way out. Mark the positions for the straps on the top edge of the bag about 4.5 cm away from the center seam. Cut 2 sections measuring about 90 cm of the back strap. Pin the top ends of the strap left on right next to the markings. Now we're going to sew the flap. Lay the 2 layers of the flap on top of one another, right sides together. Pin and stitch them together along the outer edges. Turn the flap the other way out and iron the edges. Then sew up the outside edges close to the edge tape. Now you can pin the flap over the straps right sides together. Stitch along the center back seam on the lining and leave an opening to turn it through. Sew the base using the same principle as for the outer fabric and use finishing stitches on the seams. Now the lining and outer fabric can be turned over. To do this, put the lining over the outer fabric right sides together and pin the upper edges together. Then stitch along the upper edge including the straps and flap. Now turn the bag the other way out through the opening in the lining. Then iron the join seam and the lining inwards 6 cm above the join seam. Stitch inwards down the seam groove of the join stitch, including the lining on the inside. Close the opening for turning in the lining using small hand stitches. Now we need to determine the positions of the eyelets for the drawstring. On each side, start 5 cm from the center back seam. Space the rest of the eyelets at equal intervals from one another. We are using 10 eyelets in total, 7.5 cm apart, and placing an additional, somewhat larger eyelet in the middle at the front. Insert the piercing tool into the VARIO Creative Tool. Now you can pierce all the holes. Then insert the eyelet tool. Then you can affix all of the eyelets. Now simply thread the cord through and knot the ends together and your fastening is finished. Now we need to attach the carry strap at the bottom. We will need an adjusting buckle for each strap so that the lengths can be adjusted. Slide the adjusting buckle onto the strap and use the VARIO Creative Tool and the piercing tool to pierce 2 holes in each. Then place the tubular rivet tool in the VARIO Creative Tool and fasten each of the ends of the straps in place with a tubular rivet. Now you can just fasten the bottom edge of the straps to the base using bag rings on the strap loops. And now your rucksack is finished. Your essentials are protected from rain, sand and dirt. We want to say thank you to our partner, Prym. We hope you had lots of fun sewing, punching and riveting with us. Until the next installment of Sewing with Burda.